What's up, guys? So I have an incredible, very talented producer with me today. His name is Peter, and he's an orchestral slash trailer composer. Lots and lots of talent. This guy is overflowing with talent. And he's recently got involved in the licensing business. And what I really want to talk with him today is that sort of really smart shift that he made in his career. So before he discovered music licensing, he was including himself in all these other endeavors and trying to go different paths to try to make music his full-time job. He didn't know about music licensing, or maybe he wasn't aware about how to actually get involved in it. Then when he discovered what music licensing was all about, he decided that is the smart path to actually make a full-time income, or at least try to go for that full-time income with music licensing, because most artists today are just chasing their tails. They're literally just throwing stuff out on SoundCloud, online, on YouTube, Facebook, chasing fans, trying to sound like the other modern trendy artists that are on the charts, but not really standing out too much. And then ultimately, it doesn't lead to sales. It doesn't lead to a tour. It doesn't lead to any sort of actual buzz being built up. And those of you that are artists or songwriters or bands know that rat race that you can get stuck in social media trying to promote yourself as a songwriter, a producer, or a band. And it sucks, and it's frustrating, and it's really aggravating to just constantly be up against that wall and never quite feel like you're being valued for your talent and for your hard work. Not the case in music licensing. If you can be smart and you can submit your tracks to the right companies, the right libraries, you can be valued for that. You can get paid for that. You can get placements and eventually royalties for that. So that's what I love about this business, is that it actually is a direct one-to-one correlation between how hard you work and how smart you are with how successful you are. And Peter is obviously discovering that for himself. He just got accepted by a library that he learned and discovered through my SyncEdge program. So I'm really stoked for him. And his music career, his licensing career is just taking off, and I see great things for him. Peter, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming.
Hey, Jesse, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
I'm really glad you decided to join us, because I don't always run into people with your level of talent. Your tracks that I was checking out are, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 in terms of the quality that you can get in this business. So I see a very bright future ahead for you. And I want to dig into that a little bit, because a guy with your level of talent, what were you doing before you found music licensing? What was your plan to try to make music your full-time job?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, you said it really well a minute ago. You said a lot of the things that were on my mind in terms of, I was throwing stuff out on SoundCloud. I was trying to be more of an artist, composing stuff, sticking it up on CD Baby. And I knew that, people were making music for TV and film. And I just kind of assumed that those were composers that had, every TV show had its own composer, and that was it. And there was kind of no way into it. I didn't even really think about getting into music for TV or film. And then I started hearing more about the licensing world. And honestly, I learned a lot from your channel and other folks on YouTube. That was about a year or two ago. It's been about a couple of years since I first realized that it was an opportunity for me. And a lot of it, kind of repeating what you said in my head, was like, I didn't really care so much about the fame and being a superstar. I was more interested in the craft and being challenged by coming up with songs that or music that really emphasize the emotion of a scene and the production quality and supporting the visuals. That was something that really resonated with me, and so I wanted to pursue that side of things much more. And again, channels like yours really opened my eyes to this world and got me excited about it.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that, because that's exactly why I do what I do. I remember when I first learned about music licensing, 2008, 2007, same realization came to me that you realized, because I thought that every TV show had its own composer, some major A-list, megastar. Or the other thing that I assumed was that they were only taking tracks from like the top 40 Billboard, like Green Day, and the Backstreet Boys. Back then it was like, I guess that was like even 10 years before that, but I was only assuming that the major artists were the ones that were getting all those placements. And then I realized, as I got into this industry, yes, some of those major label artists get some placements and they get paid a lot for that, 6 figures plus for the sync fees just alone, not to mention the royalties on the back end. But not every company has six figures to throw around to get that awesome mega, dance hit that's on the radio. But what they do have is a smaller fee, and they want to pay producers like me, producers like you, us average Joes who work from our home studios, and we don't have super incredible connections. We don't rub elbows with the Hollywood elite or anything like that. But we can produce music that is relevant, that sounds like what they really wanted to license from that major artist. So in many ways, we are sort of the unsung heroes in this industry. We are living in the shadows in many ways of these bigger artists. And we kind of come in there to solve that problem, to create and supply that music that sounds like what's happening right now on the radio, but at a much lower cost. But even with a sync fee of 5-10 grand, we'll take it. We love those kind of sync fees. That's fine with us. Even if you can get those crazy, six-figure ones, those are incredible as well. But that's what my philosophy has always been. You want to pay me a lot less to make music that's kind of like them? I will absolutely do that for you any day of the week. I love doing that. And it's something that for a lot of you producers that are watching this, you probably do that already right now. Like you're already making music that follows, the influences that you love, and you're doing the exact same thing in music licensing. You're not making cheesy jingles. A lot of people, I don't know if you had that misconception as well, Peter, but I had that. I thought, I don't want to do cheesy jingles about Coca-Cola. Like, I'm not going to be happy with that. That might have been 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago where that was happening. These days, it's modern genres, it's edgy stuff, it's stuff that you're hearing coming out. I don't know if the radio even exists anymore, but on the charts, right, there's still the sort of like the trending music that comes out in social media. That's what's in demand. It's the stuff that you're hearing that's happening right now. So that's really awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. So walk me through your experience with SyncEdge. You had told me that you had heard that I was about to release this service. And what was it about what I was doing that made you decide, absolutely, this has been a missing link, something that I really need to get involved with?
Yeah, that was a great moment. I mean, part of it was timing. Like I had finished a lot of music, but I wasn't making a lot of movements in getting connected with libraries. And when I first heard about SyncEdge, it just like the way you described it, I was like, yes, that's exactly what I need. I need that kind of someone to, like yourself, who's got all this experience, to kind of give me the thought process that goes through your head as you're looking at libraries and analyzing, well, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Where could I possibly fit in? Just that whole kind of analysis that you provide. When I heard you describe that, I was like, that's exactly what I need. I mean, it was just the perfect timing. I didn't even have to think about it. I was, yes, I'm doing that. So it was a little bit was timing. I think, as you've said also, that you need to be ready to submit. You need to, your chops need to be at a place where you're ready to start submitting, right? So I was at that point, but I just didn't have. I felt like I needed a little direction and kind of some back end thoughts of how someone like yourself would go about doing it. And it was just super helpful.
That's awesome, man. It's really cool to hear. That's exactly what you get with SyncEdge is 10 years of experience in this business and a lot of the trial and error that I went through, submitting to some libraries, not getting accepted, and realizing in hindsight, wow, like what was I doing? I was just throwing music against the wall, hoping that it stuck. And I realized after, those experiences that like I need to be smarter with it. And once I figured out that sort of missing piece on how to really analyze what a library is doing, who their clients are, right? Because not every library is serving the same kind of client. Not every library has reality shows or trailers or ads that they're serving, right? So every trailer or every library has a different set of clients that they're serving. And usually on their website, there's a way to go find that out and to analyze it and figure it out. And also the sort of style of reality show that's there, right? So there are many different styles of reality shows. There's a survivor reality shows where it's kind of like jungle music where they're in the wild, naked these days, just crazy shows out there. Then there's ones where they're in Alaska, right? And they're kind of surviving out there in the woods. There's ones that's, Atlanta Housewives. I mean, there's so many different types of reality TV shows. Like almost all TV now is reality TV. And each one of those is going to need a different style of music, right? A different genre. And so that's what I do recommend with you guys with the SyncEdge videos is be smart about this stuff. Don't just throw up because you make this music. You think they should love it because you love your music. It's a very narcissistic point of view and it doesn't get you that far in this business. You have to first and foremost flip that 180 and think about what do they need? What are their needs? What are their concerns? What are they trying to feed with their current catalog? And then when you find that match, you realize, man, I wonder if my tracks are up to par. I wonder if I will actually be considered to be a competitor with what they already have in their catalog. And that's the other important factor that you get with those videos in SyncEdge, is I go through the tracks and I say, here's a weakness. You guys can see how this track ain't so hot. If you can do something better than this, and I tell you exactly what's not working so great about that track or that series of tracks or that album, then I let you know there's your edge, and that's how you get in. Or if your tracks aren't there yet, you now have a benchmark at least, right? You know, because that's a big question everybody asks me. Jesse, how do I know if my tracks are good enough? Well, it's a very broad question because I don't know where you're going. Are you going to a royalty-free stock website that accepts almost anything? You're probably already good. Just throw it up there, right? They don't have probably any quality control. If you're going to a high-level A-list library that is very competitive and has some high-quality music, well, you need to go to their site. You're going to look at their catalog. You need to analyze whether or not your tracks are there or not. That's really how you would know, are you good enough or not? Because whether or not you're good enough or not, like in general across the whole licensing world, that's an impossible question, because I know some producers who have terrible productions who've gotten incredible placements and huge, huge royalties. I don't think that's an excuse to have low standards for yourself, though, just because some people get lucky, right, and get those placements, even though they don't have great high productions. You should always be thinking, how can I up my game? How can I step up my level? How can I decide, or how can I better myself? And one thing I really want to caution you, Peter, on, and anybody else watching, is once you get heavily involved in this industry, the big thing, it's exciting. Obviously, you get your contract signed, and I know that you got your call back within a couple of hours of sending the email, so that was really awesome. But you also need to be careful that you do you can fall into a little bit of stagnation where you're producing the same type of content, the same kind of music, album after album for maybe year after year. And if you have the patience to be able to do that and keep going, and you don't really feel like you're making cover versions of your old songs, and you're staying relevant and fresh, trying new samples, new chord progressions, challenging yourself musically to try something new, then great. But most of us, we hit roadblocks. We hit a wall. We hit a point where it's like, I can't make one more trailer track. It's all the same. I'm using the same thing, and I'm making cover versions of what I've already done. That is the time where you might need to start thinking about adding a secondary genre or a secondary style of music to start composing, like completely separate, like EDM or pop, or something completely different from what you're used to doing. Or it might be a time to just take a break, right? And it's okay to take a week, 2 weeks, just to kind of recenter, refocus, listen to some other music, get away from music altogether. Sometimes you need to just unplug the speakers, go live a life, right? Go spend time with your friends and family, go on a trip, go do something else, and refresh yourself and come back to your workstation just much more energized. It's definitely something that we all face. And when you face it, and Peter, I definitely want to give you this advice, when you face it, you know you're on the right track, okay? It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you don't know if you have what it takes. It means that you're doing what very few producers are able to do, which is stay busy enough to get to that problem, right? It's a really, believe it or not, it's a great problem to have, to be that busy that you kind of feel like, I need to take a break from all of this work that I'm doing. It's a really awesome problem to have. So when you get to it, just realize that it is a gift, but it does need to be addressed, and you need to get past it. So that's one thing I would say for you and anybody watching this video as well. So Peter, what are your thoughts about moving forward with this library? What's your production schedule like now, and what are your sort of goals for the next 6 months to a year?
Well, I'm excited. I just finished submitting my tracks for this particular library, the ones that got accepted, and I'm gonna work on some more as well. And then I'm going to continue SyncEdge. And I've already identified a couple other libraries that you have in there that I'm working on submitting to. I haven't yet. I'm still finishing up the tracks, and that's probably going to take me a little while, because to your point a minute ago, the other libraries that I've identified are actually in a different style that I have been successful at in the past, but I've been focused on orchestral so much recently that I'm actually going to kind of take a little bit of a break and focus on that other style and submit to those as well.
Very cool, man. I see, again, bright things for your future. I think you got some incredible stuff coming your way. And I know you, and most importantly, you have the hustle. You are cranking out, you said, 3 to 5 tracks a week. And you're probably even going to get faster as time goes on, because you're going to start creating templates and sort of shortcuts to be able to get this stuff done real quick. So that is a very great recipe for success. You've created basically a system of success, right? You have this whole system, these skills, and this quick production output. And that is basically, you're like an unstoppable production machine for the licensing business. It's one of those things that you got to have that in place to really make this full time, right? If you're doing one track a month, you could slowly build up your career, but it's going to take so long. Why bother? Unless you're just interested in some part-time money here and there. But Peter, your strategy here is the winning strategy. It is high output, large volume, and high quality, right? So sort of trying to balance as best you can, but you have all of those things working in your favor, and now you're partnering with really great libraries. So I wish you nothing but the best, man. Thank you again for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse. And again, thanks for all that you do for us producers. Really makes a huge difference. It's been a huge help for me a lot, and I'm sure for a lot of us. So thank you